Hello, I am Xarkun. This is World of Warships Legends. On the screen here you see my build for a level 14 Mikhail Kedrov. Got a level 16 Cunningham and a level 16 Hyde inspiring him. I will be using him to command the Tier 7 Russian battleship Vladivostok in the following game, which will take place on Crash Zone, Domination Mode. Now, this video isn't really about what Kedrov can do for the Vladivostok in the way that my last video on the Vladivostok was what Galler could do for it. I might mention some things as this video goes on, but this is much more about passive play in a battleship or in any ship class versus active ship play. So you're going to want to pay special attention to the minimap at various points in this game. I'll try to point out the significant ones as it goes on, but what's going to end up happening is there's going to be a kind of strong side, weak side sort of thing developing, and the enemy team is going to make a concentrated push to Alpha and take it, and only a few of the ships on my team are going to try to defend or contest it. And then the rest of my team is sort of going to sit on the back edge of the map doing I'm not sure what. You see, am approaching Charlie, and I'm going to push forward for the majority of the game while my team sort of just hangs back. I am going to receive some support from a friendly Baltimore, who is going to help me finish off at least 2 ships after I get some wicked salvos on them. So that support is, of course, invaluable. But you're going to see what happens when a number of ships on the enemy team push into Alpha, and only I push toward or past Charlie at the enemy ships out here. Now, pushing in a battleship can be tricky, for a number of reasons. The 3 classes of ships in this game, battleships, cruisers, destroyers, have a sort of rock, paper, scissors dynamic going for them. Destroyers with their torpedoes counter battleships, battleships with their huge guns counter cruisers, and cruisers with their rapid fire counter destroyers. But, of course, there are also nuances to that and caveats. One of the caveats is if you're in a battleship, for example, and you're trying to counter another battleship, you want to get shots on them that are going to be the most lucrative for you in terms of damage. So if you have an angled battleship that looks like he's going to stay angled for a protracted period of time, he's not really moving or anything, what you're going to want to do in that situation is move your ship into a position that is more advantageous for you, so that maybe you can get access to the enemy ship's broadside. Now, often that can't be done alone. You need other ships supporting you, moving up, providing reasons for the stationary ships to move. And you have to keep in mind things like torpedo threats. A good deal of the fundamental countering that a destroyer does to you is restrict your ability to move freely. So you can't move into position to shoot an enemy battleship without worrying about taking torpedoes, or conversely, you cannot move out of a position from an enemy battleship without taking torpedoes. Or maybe you need to move out of the way of incoming torpedoes and you give broadside to an enemy battleship that has moved up on your flank. These are all scenarios that you can get into when you're pushing up. And what we've got here is basically 3 ships on this side of the map. The rest of the enemy are going toward the other side. We've got a Vladivostok and a Nagato, both of whom are stationary. And then we've got a Helena out there to our right. He is moving around a little bit. There are no torpedo threats out here to speak of. There is no reason that I can't push up on these guys. And at the same time, there's no reason the friendly Bismarck, who is behind an island toward the west side of the map, or I'm sorry, the east side of the map, just behind the friendly Baltimore, who is moving up and shooting on this Helena. There's no reason why that Bismarck can't push up with me. He doesn't have any torpedoes to worry about. If he were pushing up, we would probably have a little bit of an easier time killing these enemies here. As it stands, I'm the only one pushing up. I'm having a pretty difficult time killing this Helena. Every time I hit him, it seems to be for over-penetrations. Got some decent hits there, but only managed to land 2 shells, and one of my turrets has been taken out. I am pretty close to the 2 enemy battleships, and they are pretty reliably hitting my turrets. Now, I take the Helena down to almost no health, and the friendly Baltimore is going to come in and finish him off. Now I'm going to move up on the Nagato and the Vladivostok, and I think, make a little bit of a mistake here, but looking back on it, in my mind, I didn't want to push too far forward and get in between the Nagato and Vladivostok. That would pretty much probably put me in a position to be crossfired, and I wouldn't last very long. So instead, I stop here. Got really no reason to worry. As far as I know, the only significant torpedo threat in the form of that destroyer is on the complete other side of the map. I think he probably assisted his team there in capping Alpha, and now that they've secured Alpha, they are going to move this way and try to clear the rest of us out. That's why it was so important for my team to push up with me here, and the fact that they really didn't, apart from the Baltimore, who is providing some supporting fire, but it's a little bit too late for that now. The fact that they didn't push up here with me is pretty much what's going to lose us this game. The enemy played pretty aggressively, whereas my entire team here played pretty passively. I think earlier in the match we had 2 friendly ships in the center of the map just sort of sitting in front of Bravo, not really moving anywhere. And now, that Bismarck is still pretty far out of the action. I'm getting shot by a Baltimore. The HE is taking down a few of my hit points, and I do think I took a couple shots in the broadside from an enemy battleship all the way across the map. I'm gonna turn my attention now to the Baltimore. Maybe I should have focused on him a little bit earlier. Smack him really hard there for 21k, not quite enough to take him out. But luckily the friendly Baltimore comes through and gets rid of him. That leaves just an enemy Vladivostok here, and I'm pretty confident that had we all moved up together, these 3 ships would have gone down a whole heck of a lot quicker, and we might have been able to reposition ourselves in such a way that we could effectively deal with the push that the enemy team is about to make down sort of the center line of the map into Bravo and toward Charlie. We do hit the Vladivostok for a citadel, and we are moving in to maybe put this island between us and the Vladivostok, or else turn past the island and engage only the Vladivostok, which maybe in hindsight I should not have gone behind this island, because once I do, I meet a Tirpitz. And now I'm in a situation where the Tirpitz can shoot at me and the Vladivostok can't. I suppose I've traded one for another, but given the way the Vladivostok was angled against me, I think maybe I would have had a better chance taking him down. As it stands, I can't really go forward or backwards without giving broadside to the enemy Vladivostok. The Tirpitz is closing in. He's permanently taken out one of my turrets, and reduced my firepower by quite a bit. And of course, he is a torpedo threat. He wants to close in so he can torpedo me, because that's what all the Tirpitz want to do. My remaining team members anyway, have entered the Charlie cap. The match is basically almost over, and the cap is probably going to be irrelevant at this point. The enemy has held on to 1 cap, and we've had 0 for the majority of the game, and they are going to flip Bravo here probably pretty soon. Debating on whether I should reverse out in front of that Vladivostok, but his guns are still aimed this way. He is basically waiting for me to do that so he can shoot me in the broadside and blow me up. So I'm going to move forward a little bit, try to get both of my remaining turrets on the Tirpitz, who has given up shooting at me. The Vladivostok's armor is incredible when it's angled and pointing bow on at these enemy battleships. It's just a ridiculous tank. The only real weaknesses it has are, of course, being lit on fire. It's got a limited amount of damage control, and, you know, fire, after a time, does add up. And then having its turrets taken out, which happens so easily. Gonna get one last shot on the Tirpitz just to sort of pad the damage numbers. This game is a loss, and we are not going to survive this encounter. The Tirpitz takes us down, and there are only 3 ships left. They are going to be picked off by the enemy. We're going to end this game with defeat, but I hope it highlights for you just the Vladivostok's incredible ability to push, and maybe give some general ideas on when you might want to push in a battleship. In games where there are a few destroyers or a single destroyer, you should be able to do that with a fair degree of confidence. If you're watching the minimap early on, you see where the destroyer is spotted and react accordingly to that, as long as that destroyer isn't a threat to you. There are very few things which can kill you quickly enough, so you can advance. Your guns will become more accurate. You want to try to open up those angles on enemy battleships, maybe bait enemy cruisers into showing broadside to you. All that kind of stuff. There is a time and place for passive play, but, you can see how decisively the enemy just sort of seized victory in this game, and compare it to the passivity, the general passivity of my team. This Bismarck is the last one left alive. The Tirpitz, of course, is going to do what he always dreamed of doing and torpedo him, and the game ends. So, hope you enjoyed the game or the video. If so, give it a thumbs up, leave a comment below, and consider subscribing if you haven't done that. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next time. Goodbye.